in the sun-drenched valley of Sunstone, where golden light spilled over rolling hills each morning, a small village lay nestled between the mountains and the fields. Life here moved gently with the seasons, marked by the rhythm of planting and harvest, and everyone knew their neighbors by name and story. The honey-colored stone houses, built by generations past, seemed to grow from the earth itself, their walls warm in the sunlight and cool in the shade. The village thrived on cooperation and tradition, with neighbors gathering to share work, laughter, and stories at the end of each day. Leo, a quiet boy with observant eyes and a gentle spirit, lived at the village's edge. He helped his family tend their small plot, fetched water from the communal well, and watched the world with curiosity. He found joy in the simple things, the cool earth between his fingers, the cheerful birdsong at dawn, and the gentle breeze that carried the scent of wildflowers. Most of all, Leo cherished the sense of community, where every meal was shared and every problem faced together. But lately, a quiet unease had crept in, casting a shadow over the village's cheerful routines. The sun, once a gentle friend, now beat down with relentless heat, turning days into a test of endurance. The hills that once shimmered with green faded to brittle brown, and conversations among villagers grew anxious and uncertain. A silent challenge, as heavy as the midday sun, threatened Sunstone's way of life and the bonds that held the village together. In this changing world, Leo's watchful eyes and quiet determination would soon find a purpose he never expected, setting him on a path that could change everything for Sunstone. Sunstone's lifeblood, the communal well, was running dry. Each day, buckets brought up less water, and the once mighty stream was now a trickle. Drought gripped the land, crops wilted, gardens cracked, and cattle grew thin. The village's routine became a struggle for every drop. Worry replaced laughter, and hope faded with each cloudless day. Rituals and prayers for rain went unanswered. Leo saw the toll in his parents' faces and felt the dust in his own throat. The joy of daily life was overshadowed by scarcity. The village's spirit, like its well, was drying up. Something had to change. One early morning, as the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, Leo noticed something remarkable. Tiny beads of dew glistening on the leaves all around him, sparkling like 1,000 tiny jewels. The world seemed quiet and magical, as if nature itself was whispering a secret just for him to discover. He saw the same shimmering droplets on stones and even on the rough ground, despite the fact that drought had gripped the land for weeks. It was as if the dew appeared out of nowhere, a quiet miracle in the midst of hardship. He realized that, while the village well was bone dry and everyone worried about water, nature still offered a small gift each night, if only for a short while before the sun chased it away. The dew would vanish quickly with the sunrise, evaporating into the warm morning air. But for those few precious moments, it was there, a hidden gift from nature, waiting to be noticed. Leo's curiosity grew stronger, turning into determination. He wondered if this secret could help his family and friends. What if they could collect this dew before it disappeared each morning? Could these tiny drops be gathered and used? He began to observe carefully, studying which leaves and stones gathered the most moisture, and which places seemed to hold on to the dew the longest. He noticed how droplets would run down the smooth surfaces and trickle to the ground, sometimes lost in the thirsty soil. Suddenly, Leo realized the answer wasn't in waiting for rain, but in capturing what was already there. Hope sparked within him, bright and new. He was just a boy, but he'd seen what others had missed, a possibility hidden in plain sight, overlooked by everyone else. Leo knew he had to share his discovery with his family and neighbors, hoping they would see the promise in these tiny drops as he did. Maybe, just maybe, these tiny drops could save Sunstone from thirst, if only they learned how to gather them together. Inspired by his discovery, Leo set out to turn his observation into action. determined to see if the secret of the dew could truly make a difference. Leo shared his idea with his friend Ilara, showing her the dew on the leaves at dawn. He explained how, every morning, the plants seemed to glisten with tiny droplets, even when the air felt dry. Leo wondered aloud if they could somehow collect this hidden water, and Ilara listened, curiosity slowly replacing her doubt. Skeptical at first, Ilara was convinced when she saw the moisture herself. She ran her fingers over the cool, wet surface of a leaf, marveling at how much water clung there. The idea no longer seemed impossible. It felt like a secret waiting to be unlocked. Together, they devised a plan: gather broad leaves and flat stones, lay them out each evening, and place clay bowls beneath to catch the dripping dew. They imagined the gentle drops sliding down the leaves, collecting in the bowls by sunrise. It was simple, but it just might work. They approached Old Man Hemlock, the village potter, for help. He was wise and patient, known for listening to even the wildest ideas from the village children. Hemlock listened, saw their hope, and agreed to make shallow clay dishes for their experiment. He smiled at their determination, remembering his own childhood dreams, and promised to craft bowls wide enough to catch every precious drop. He suggested digging shallow clay-lined channels to direct even more dew into a central basin. With his guidance, the children learned how to shape the earth and line it with clay, turning their simple idea into something bigger. The plan grew from a child's idea into a community project. Soon, neighbors gathered to watch, some offering advice, others lending their hands. The field buzzed with excitement and cautious optimism. Leo, Ilara and Hemlock worked together, gathering materials and preparing for their first test. Each leaf, stone and bowl was carefully chosen and placed, every step filled with hope and anticipation. Their teamwork inspired a fragile but growing hope. The villagers began to believe that, perhaps, even small hands and simple ideas could make a difference. They were ready to show the village what a few determined people could do. The experiment was set, and everyone waited for the first rays of dawn to reveal the results. Now, they just needed the village to believe. If their plan worked, it could change everything for Sunstone. The future of Sunstone depended on it, and as the sun rose, so did their hopes for a brighter tomorrow. When Leo and Ilara presented their dew collection idea to the elders, skepticism reigned. The adults dismissed it as a child's fantasy, until Leo, Ilara, and Hemlock demonstrated their system. At dawn, every clay dish held water. When combined, it filled a quarter of a bucket. The villagers gasped. Hope was real, and it was in their hands. Doubt vanished, replaced by excitement. The elders, once dismissive, now saw Leo as a savior. The village rallied around the idea, eager to help. What began as a small experiment became a movement. Everyone wanted to join the dew collection. The spirit of Sunstone was reborn. Leo's simple observation had united the village. Together, they would face the drought. The tide had turned. The next evening, the entire village worked together, transforming the fields into organized dew farms. Men, women, and children gathered leaves, stones, and bowls, setting up the collection system as the sun set. Laughter and conversation returned, and the work became a nightly ritual. The community's spirit was mended by shared purpose. At dawn, hundreds of bowls glistened with water. Bucket after bucket was filled and poured into the communal well. Every family had enough to drink. Relief and pride replaced worry. The village celebrated, not with a feast, but with gratitude and joy. Leo and Ilara were lifted onto shoulders, cheered as heroes. The dew water tasted sweeter than any before. Sunstone had found hope in the smallest drops. Dew collection became a daily ritual in Sunstone, easing the drought's grip. The well was never full, but never empty. The villagers learned to value small solutions and observe nature closely. Life returned to the valley, and the people grew wiser and more resilient. Leo, once a quiet boy, became a symbol of hope and courage. He learned that even the smallest voice can spark great change. The story of the dew became a legend, inspiring future generations. Sunstone thrived, forever changed by a boy's observation. Each sunrise revealed glistening bowls, a daily reminder of hope. And so, the village flourished, thanks to the watchful eyes of a boy named Leo.